Hey guys, Dave Keller here with Market Misbehavior. I'm continuing this series of videos called 7 Salutations. I do a daily journaling ritual every morning. First thing, once I sort of wake up, get ready, take a shower, I get a cup of coffee or an espresso or something and sit down with my journal and I write out 3 pages. And this is a practice I started years ago after I read a book called The Artist's Way, which talked about the benefits of journaling and basically filling 3 pages with content. If you missed my earlier videos, I encourage you to go back and review them sequentially if you can, because we're building up an argument for journaling and the benefits of having an honest conversation with yourself to build self-awareness. But this is in particular called 7 Salutations, and every video I'm going through one different piece of how I wrap up my daily journal. So every day I finish, do about 2.5 pages, and then the bottom half of that last page looks kind of like this, and it's literally the same set of things that I've written every day for years. And I started out with just a couple things, and every couple months I found some other really special, quick little nugget that I could put in there, and I added it. And in the end, I came up with 7 salutations, 7 ways that I wrap up my daily journal, and it really. It's become sort of a mantra. Every time I write those things, it's a reflection on what's really important to me, who I want to be, how I want to go about life, how I want to interact with the people in the world around me. So it's been super helpful. So we've talked about a number of them so far. Today we're on the 4th one, which is called Play Life. So one of the things I write is Play Life, and I'll tell you why. So I'm a musician, in case you've missed that in previous videos or presentations that I've done. So I studied music at Ohio State and was planning at some point to go into music full time, but was looking for a more steady source of income, and that led me to the financial industry. And pretty much 20 years later, I'm continuing on in the financial industry, doing fine, and I've always tried to find ways to incorporate music in my life, and that's led me to perform randomly, to be part of composer and arranger groups, go to random retreats to try to engage that part of my brain, or just, plunk out songs on the piano or wherever I can get in front of, and just try to keep it as part of how I'm thinking. A couple years ago, I saw a presentation from many years ago by Alan Watts. And if you don't know Alan Watts's work, he was one of the, really one of the, I think the first Western, speakers or presenters on Eastern philosophy, mindfulness and Buddhism and Zen and all of those sorts of things. And a couple books he wrote. The book and The Wisdom of Insecurity are fantastic reads on, focusing on the now, living a more mindful way. And I've incorporated certainly much of his inspiration is in my work as I work with investors and try to help them become more mindful investors, have an awareness of what's going on around them, have a calmer, more reflective, more thoughtful way, a more deliberate way of interacting with the financial markets and financial information in particular. The presentation that I saw really was an audio presentation he gave. He had so many great little nuggets in there, but he talked about music, and this is why I'm combining 2 passions of mine with this little quote, Play Life. It combines my interest in music with my interest in mindfulness and being a more mindful investor and a more mindful human being. He basically talked about how, if you think about music, the purpose of a piece of music isn't to get to the end. It's to enjoy the process, right? It's the if you think of a piece of music, one moment is just, it's fleeting, it's gone. It's not about the moment. It's certainly not about the destination. The goal of a piece of music is not to get to the very last note and be done. It's to enjoy this journey along the way. It's to enjoy the process of making music, or the joy of hearing a master musician perform in a beautiful way. And I've been so fortunate to listen to some exceptional musicians just in my own in studies, singing with the Cleveland Orchestra Chorus. I mean, these are some of the best musicians in the world that we got to perform with. And just hearing someone who was literally at the top of their game, the top of their industry, in exceptional performance standards, was amazing. But the point wasn't to be done. The point was to live, right? To go through that process. You compare that to driving a car, right? You get in a car, you get in an airplane. The purpose of travel is to get to a destination. Now, I would argue, and having traveled a lot, I love the process of travel. I love the joy of being on a big international flight, waking up in a new time zone in a new country. Like, that's pretty cool. But at the end of the day, when you get in your car, you're driving from point A to point B. And while you might enjoy it, it's usually a relatively mindless process. And your goal is just to get to that appointment or get to that place or get to those people, whoever's at the other end. So there's really a purpose, which is the end. The end justifies the means of how you get there. But it's not that way with music. It's really the process that you're trying to enjoy. He also talked about piano and said, if you think about how we talk about a musical instrument, for example, the piano, we don't say that you work the piano, you say you play the piano, right? It is inherently joyful, positive experience that you're having in making music and producing music for yourself and for others to enjoy. And I'm not a great piano player. My wife absolutely is. She's a concert level pianist, but I trip around on guitar. I definitely can sing and play trumpet much better than any of those things. But there is, you don't work any of those things. You don't, work the trumpet, you play the trumpet, right? And so that idea of playing is so important. So, I won't, I was actually at the moment, I've, in the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to figure out Duran Duran's Ordinary World on guitar. And again, I'm not a great guitarist, but I can play some chords. And I mainly enjoy finding a song from my past or that I hear and looking up the lyrics and trying to just figure out the chords on my own. And that process of learning the chords and figuring out how I might want to play them a little differently or how I'm going to make the guitar do a certain thing is super fun. And it's not work. If it was work, I wouldn't do it. It's playing. You play that instrument. And I will, again, not embarrass myself or the good people of Duran Duran and share with you where I'm at with that. Maybe someday when I refine it just a little bit more. But the idea is you don't work the instrument, you play the instrument. And when you think about that and you think about the idea of a musician or a piece of music and focusing on the journey, focusing on the process, the experience, and not just focusing on the end. Unfortunately, we think about our lives, not just as investors, but as human beings, way too much like we're driving our car. We think about it as a destination. You're trying to get to that next step. And I know from having an older sibling, it was all about when I was in elementary school, he was in middle school. When I was in middle school, he was in high school. When I was in high school, he was in college. When I was in college, he had graduated and had a job, and he's always been a couple steps ahead of me. And that is a way that many of us sort of think of our lives. We're always trying to get to some next thing, whether it's a level of experience as an investor, whether it's a certain performance hurdle, as long as if I could just have a positive year or outperform by X percent or do, this many winning trades, then I will have arrived. But the arrival is a mirage, right? There is no arrival. And I will tell you, the moment you get somewhere, there's always someone like my older brother who's another step further, who has a little better performance, who has had a little better track record, has a little more experience. You will never catch up. It's not a destination. It's a process. So I think as investors, you think about growing over time. You think about improving from where you're at to where you can be. And you think about enjoying that process. I think, from first getting started in the financial industry, I love the fact that people who are way more experienced than me, having done this decades when I was just doing it a couple weeks, I saw them asking questions and trying to learn and trying to better themselves. And I thought, if this is an industry where you can grow and learn over the entire course of your investing life, of your professional life, like I'm in. I think that's fantastic. And it has truly been that way for me. And I've enjoyed continuing to talk to others and learn from others all along this way. And I will continue to do it. But my goal during this process, and it will continue to be, is not to just think of it as a destination, not have a particular end in mind in terms of what you're doing. It's all about the journey. So just as you would with a piece of music or with an instrument, don't think of it as a destination. Think of it as a journey. Don't think of it as working your investment life or your personal life. Think of it as playing, right? And one final thought on why I put play life in there. Sir Ken Robinson gave one of the most popular TED Talks ever. And if you've missed, he gave a couple and they're both fantastic. He's written a book related to it. He talks all about education and basically the weaknesses in our educational system and how it accentuates, where it stresses the importance of certain things and does not stress enough creativity. And his main thing is we are teaching our young people to regurgitate facts and learn formulas and things like that, as opposed to empowering them to think independently and to think for themselves. And his ideas of creativity, I think, are absolutely fantastic. And as we've started to homeschool our children this year, given the coronavirus and all the challenges, we've certainly tried to approach it with Ken Robinson's concepts of embracing creativity and having that be a central focus of it. So, I think about my 4-year-old son and how he approaches a new project that we would give him. He does it with a fearlessness that adults tend not to have, right? He's not burdened by how he should behave or what he should do. It's with a spirit of play. Anything we give him, whether it is something more academic or less academic, more creative or less creative, he approaches it with a fearlessness because he is unhindered by how he is supposed to behave, how he's supposed to approach that particular problem. It's just fun for him. So those are the different ways the reasons why I put play life at the bottom of my daily journal. It's one of those 7 salutations. It's to remember that life is not a destination, it's a journey, and to approach that professionally and personally as well. It's to remember that you don't work an instrument, you play an instrument, and I want to be playing my life instead of working my life and thinking of it in terms of priorities and tasks and to-dos. I want to enjoy every minute of it. And also it reminds me to approach life and approach professional tasks, investment theses and everything with the fearlessness and with the creativity that my 4-year-old son displays when he is taking on a new project. So that is why I put play life at the bottom of my daily journal. I would encourage you to think today and this week, what can you do this week to play life instead of work life?